It was the winter maintenance, wasn't it? Layover.
It was a winter maintenance. I remember it was cold as hell and there was
Yeah,
a terrible breeze blowing.
East Coast is terrible.
Yeah.
Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Barry. Hi, name's Mike Lovegrove. I first sailed on the Malcolm Miller, I think, in 1976, which was just a pierhead jump from Weymouth Harbour. That the ship had come into Weymouth, and there was a vacancy on board, and two of my friends were very good supporters of the SDA, local branch members in those days, and they phoned me up because they knew I was a keen sailor and said, "Would you like to join?" Which I did, and must have done something right, because I then had a letter from the SDA in 2A the Hard, no, it was in Boston in those days, saying could I come back and do a trip or sail as a watch officer, which I did for a number of years, helped out with the refits and things like that. And then one day, totally out of the blue, the Marine Superintendent of the day, David Mattingly, phoned me up and said, "Can you do a trip as relief bosun?" And to which I replied, "No, I can't. I'm a yachty, I'm not a professional seafarer, I sail, I enjoy it, I worship the ground that George Thorpe's shadow falls upon," which is plenty. I don't know if you've seen George out there, he was the bosun of the day. Ex-RN heavyweight boxing champion, about 18 stone of pure delight. But David Mattingly talked me into doing it, and everybody on board was most helpful and supportive of me, even though I was as green as grass. And from then on, they got me back as relief bosun on fairly regular occasions, and then they wanted a permanent bosun, and hey presto, I got the job. Sorry about that, Barry.
It's all right.
And
It was before my time.
from then on, I realised the way that life was going, that you needed more and more pieces of paper, so I did actually take myself off to Warsash, the Nautical College at Warsash, got more and more bits of paper, and slowly moved up the ranks, ended up as second mate when they got the Briggs, and then as mate, and finally has got a master's ticket, surprising everybody. So I have sailed as master of, not the schooners I'm afraid, but the Briggs. Sailed as mate on the schooners, but master on the Briggs and other square rig vessels. So, and now I've retired. And the only thing we drive now is a canal boat, which is really quite nice, because in this day and age, going to sea is quite bureaucratically awesome, and I don't even have to fill out a navigational plan or anything like that. I can just jump on my canal boat and off I go to the nearest pub.
Well, my name is Barry Martin, and I'm from the west of Ireland, from Galway, and I had been involved in sail training for a number of years before I became involved with the Sail Training Association, and I had finished up with my job on Asgard 2, and I had a phone call from, I think it was a phone call from Mike Lovegrove.
No, it wasn't. It was Mike Forward.
Mike Forward, I beg your pardon, who called me and asked me would I come to Hartlepool to assist in the maintenance of the Sir Winston Churchill. And I spent, I think it was off and on 3 months there, and eventually was called back as a bosun. Though not permanently employed, I came back as bosun a number of times, and eventually was interviewed for the job. I think if I remember, Captain Hugh O'Neill was involved, and I was interviewed in the wardroom of my old vessel Asgard 2 in Leith in Scotland, and got the job as bosun on the Sir Winston Churchill. I was very pleased about it. I got to work with a lot of lovely people, and I really enjoyed the work. Getting its ship shape was the important thing, and I think with the help of others we managed to do that. The Churchill went many places. I sailed sometimes on the Churchill as chief officer, which was quite a surprise to me, and did 1 or 2 voyages on the Malcolm Miller as chief officer, and quite enjoyed them. the Miller and the Churchill, of course, very similar vessels, so it was easy enough to transfer from one to the other. Well, it's very hard to remember. There were so many nice things happened over the years. But I think one of my nice memories was a Christmas in the Canary Islands, where we had Christmas dinner on the deck, and the crew went to an awful lot of trouble. They built tables along the after deck and got it decorated, and the sun shone, and we had Christmas dinner in the Canaries, which was very, very pleasant.
No. There are just so many lovely people and lovely places. I once was talking to another master of a sail training vessel. We were both on the same vessel, and I said, we are so privileged to do this job. We meet some very interesting people. We see some lovely parts of the world that are quite difficult to get to sometimes just by commercial airlines. And you actually see with young people particularly the transformation in their sort of character over a relatively short period of a couple of weeks voyage. You know, the first time they meet you, they won't look you in the eye. If you ask them what their name is, it's sort of John. You know, they would do anything but to look you in the eye. And then slowly, over the period of a voyage, they begin to realise that you can be their friend. And towards the end of the voyage, they're cracking jokes with you, and it's just wonderful. Sail training voyages are truly wonderful in as much as the way they lift everybody. We've always said that a sail training voyage affects everybody. Some of them you see the minute they walk down the gangway, they're 10 foot tall. Others it kicks in a little bit later on.
Just one more comment I would like to make, and that is, people often ask, what is sail training? What does it do for young people? Well, we're here tonight at a gathering of people who have sailed on the Sir Winston Churchill and the Malcolm Miller, and indeed on the Briggs. But for me, there are two particular young people here tonight whom I'm very proud of. They came as trainees on the Sir Winston Churchill, and they are now masters of two fine cargo vessels. One young lady is master of a Maersk tanker, 3,000-ton tanker. The other young lady is master of the Endeavour, a research vessel. Their names are Kirsty Bruce, who is master on the Maersk ship, and Joe Cox, who is master on the Endeavour.
Yep.
My friend Mike and I met in Hartlepool, and we've always gotten on very well with one another, and he was a wonderful shipmate.
Yeah. It was, Barry is a truly good friend.
Thank you, Mike.